voters involved in the course of this, so they're right about that. The RNC is also right. Then when they say the rules are there, they should have been known, you can plan around them, both are right in that. But it is a rigged system. I was looking last night at the data that the voters, the people that voted in the Republican primary in D.C., every delegate, one delegate was chosen for every 100 people. The voters that voted in Michigan, one delegate was chosen for every 20,000 people. And when you cancel primaries in Colorado and say, we're not going to do a primary now, we're going to do an entirely different system, they're right. The system is broken. The political system on both sides is broken. And it is a rigged system that it only benefits certain people.
So does that mean, Mary Matlin, if Donald Trump does not get to 1237 and is denied the nomination in Cleveland, you're going to have the party blow up?
The party's going to blow up anyways, and it's been blowing up for a long time because it's not representing, has not been representing conservatives. So all the conservatives are angry, not all the angry people are conservatives. But the way Donald is saying rigged is in this nefarious way. It is not rigged. It's based on, as our electoral, general election principles are based on antiquity, Athenian antiquity, the virtuous citizen, the one, the few, the many. So that's in state sovereignty. We added state sovereignty. That's why the states get to decide what is their best way to participate. I also don't like the nefarious suggestion about these delegates because they work hard. There's nothing in it for them. They are delegates because we're a representative republic, and they represent and study issues in politics and policy.
George, forgive me if I don't have any sympathy for a real estate developer from New York complaining about a process. This is somebody who talks about, oh, I know how to get things done. Okay, the test to see if you can get something done as a president is, can you navigate a primary process, running for president? Guess what? If you become president, you're going to be dealing with the same thing in other countries. You're going to be dealing with the same thing when it comes to business. So if you can't handle this process, you're unfit for being president. So shut up, stop complaining, have an organization, because they're not going to hand it to you. You have to earn it.
But I think that the biggest issue underlying the Republican and Democratic elections this year is the upsurge in anti-establishment feeling. And so that what would ordinarily be in any other election year, just oh yeah, they're insiders, there are rules, it's not rigged, it becomes this year a major political issue. Even in the Democratic Party, the superdelegate issue, people are talking about, they're angry about, if they're certainly supporting Bernie Sanders, it is not something that's going to go away.
Definitely not going to go away. The question is, as Paul Manafort was talking about, can Donald Trump get there before the convention? You believe he can?
I think he can get there before the convention. I think the question becomes is what number of delegates does he finish with on June 7th after California is done? I don't think he can get there by June 7th. I don't think he can get to 1237. The math is very hard. But if he's north of 1,100 delegates, keep in mind that Donald Trump's lead over Ted Cruz is almost as big as Hillary Clinton's lead over Bernie Sanders, both in popular vote and in delegates. And I think Donald Trump understands, and Paul Manafort understands, that they have a time frame between June 8th and the convention to get whatever the number of delegates they need at that point, 80 or 90 delegates at that point. I think they know that their best vote is on the first ballot. If they don't hit 1237, they don't get it. I also think Ted Cruz's people are starting to understand their best vote is the third ballot. And I think that if they don't start significantly pick up in the aftermath, they're in trouble.
Okay, so from the beginning of time, Cruz has had I've heard all the pitches from all the primary candidates. Full spectrum conservative, consistent conservative, constitutional conservatives. He's never gotten off that. And ground game, delegate game. It's not like Trump will be operating in a vacuum after June 7th. Cruz will be doing all of the same activities, and his people are more entrenched into the...
But after that Paul Ryan statement this week, isn't it almost certain that the nominee is either Ted Cruz or Donald Trump?
No. Yeah, but this is the same, no. This is the same guy who said, I don't want the speaker. Don't even come near me. I'm satisfied. He has history.
It wasn't until I heard Paul Ryan say, I don't want it, that I remembered what he had said about Speaker of the House. I thought, well, maybe...
May I interrupt you two liberals to tell you how this works? If there's a white knight candidate...
There's no L on my shoulder.
If they parachute in a white knight candidate, if it's not Trump or Cruz, with the party that's already falling apart will spontaneously combust in Cleveland.
It may already.
But George, but there was something happened this week that is critical. His meeting with Megyn Kelly. Donald Trump has
That was critical?
Here's why. Donald Trump has a Margaret, Becky, Courtney, Ashley problem. Conservative, suburban white women. Look at 1998. Republicans lost several seats. Booted Newt out because they didn't like conservative, suburban white women don't like the attacks on minorities or sort of the rancor. Bush comes in with compassion conservatism. That's a problem for Trump when 47% of Republican women saying, I don't want this guy. He has to deal with that. And so if you're a Republican, you're going to the convention, you're still thinking about November. You want to win.
To me, there's a problem on both sides as regards that problem that they have, which is right now the leading Republican is despised by most independents, which is the largest group of voters in this country that are ultimately going to decide their life. He's despised and distrusted by them. The leading Democratic nominee is despised and distrusted by the vast majority of the independents in this country. So both parties are fixing to nominate the weakest candidates in this race. Bernie Sanders is a stronger general election candidate. I believe that. Donald Trump is a very weak general election candidate. And so they're both, to me, all of this accelerates this process towards a complete disruption in the aftermath.
Can't take out women, though.
But this is why somebody like John Kasich is so interesting. Because Kasich is not just a potential establishment candidate, he's also very popular. He's also reasonable. He's not crazy. And there may be a possibility, if you have a broker convention, for Kasich to actually show his stuff. He's running second in New York.
Dismiss from Mayor saying, I voted for Kasich in the Texas primary. So that goes your L. Yeah,
Just to be a disruptor. No, just to be a disruptor. I like liberals. I'm married to a liberal. I agree with your intentions. I'm just saying your outcomes are implausible.
Take on this argument. The convention.
The reason that Kasich is and I love John. I know John. John's a friend of mine. He came in the class of '94. He does have some conservative bona fides. He's a good governor. The reason he's popular is because he doesn't have a chance, and so nobody's really attacking him. These guys have, don't you understand what I'm saying? Okay, well, you're making that face at me for. It's easy to be popular and have a strategy until you get on the battlefield. He's not really on the battlefield. He's not winning. He won one state.
He's running second in New York, and I think after the New York primary, John Kasich is actually going to get a lot of attention. Some of it negative, but he is one of the few Republican governors who actually expanded Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act.
And Republican governor got 14% of black male vote because of his stance when it came to also mandatory minimums and when it comes to citizen reform.
This goes to me this whole problem again with the system which is the two candidates that would be the strongest candidates for each major party that can appeal to a broad spectrum of voters.
Isn't it just on paper, though, Matthew? I mean, the fact that
it's on paper, which is
the strongest candidates.
Just look at Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump's numbers. They're historically bad numbers when you look at the numbers. It's just historically bad. Anyone on their own would lose a general election, but the fact that Hillary Clinton is going to run against Donald Trump, she probably wins this election because he's worse liked than she is in the course of this. I think this just demonstrates the bad system. John Kasich is as conservative as Ronald Reagan. He's as conservative as Ronald Reagan. That this year, conservatives want somebody more conservative than Ronald Reagan, and that's where Ted Cruz is. And Ted Cruz is not, there's not this great ground support for Ted Cruz to stand on issue. The reason why Ted Cruz is winning now is because he's not Donald Trump.
And George, more African Americans say Kasich is more palatable. And again, whether you like it or not, 2 years ago I said John Kasich was a guy to look out for.
It's very hard to
Hold on a second. We only have about a minute left. I got to ask a question.
Last November, Lindsey Graham saying, that if I had to choose between Trump and Cruz, it's like choosing between being shot and drinking poison.
Well, that does set up. Will the Republican Party, if Donald Trump gets the 1237, will they actually close ranks behind him?
They will have to, and they'll have to they'll have to circle the wagons around issues that are important. Starting with the Supreme Court, starting with really dismantling Obamacare and all the other conservative issues that Trump has not espoused. We don't know where he is on any of that. And we also will have to rally around him closing ranks for the down ballot tickets, down ballot races.
The base of the Republican
Party. The
Republicans haven't realized the base of the Republican Party is working class voters, and they still are nominating candidates that are advocating policies that don't appeal to working class.
That's the last word today. Thank you all very much. We'll be right back.